All right, folks, it is 9 o'clock. Man, does it feel like forever since you did math or what?
I've been catching up on math homework, so no.
Okay. It's one way of like reviewing too. Like maybe you feel like you're not out of practice, so that's good. Well, today we're actually learning a pretty big lesson, like a pretty big idea. With this question, we're reviewing what we have learned already. And when we're asked to factor, we've talked about how factoring is a reverse of multiplication. And so in this case, when we're factoring something like this, what we expect to have is some greatest common factor that we're going to write out front, and then the leftover things inside brackets like that. Okay. And this is because, like, let's say we had some other type of question. Let's say we had something where we're starting with a multiplication. We're starting with something like 3x times 5x minus 11. This is very, very typical, right? We do something where we take this x and multiply by the next one. Distribution, you get 15x. 5 is 15, x times x is x squared. Then we go 3x times negative 11 gives us minus 33. Right? So we end up with that. If we're asked to factor, that means that maybe we don't know what these numbers are inside here, but we can do some work to figure them out, right? We kind of ask ourselves, what is the greatest common factor of 15 and 33? The only thing is 3. And how about, I forgot an x here, sorry. How about between the x squared and the x? Well, the greatest common factor is x. So we get 3x there, and then we write our leftovers inside the brackets. We do 15 minus 3, 5. X squared, did I say minus? I meant divided by. 15 divided by 3 is 5. X squared divided by x is x. And that's our first term. Then we do 33 divided by 3 is 11, and x divided by x is just 1, so we don't have to write that. And so we end up with this beauty right here. And so we're doing something similar with this one. We look for what 30 and 75 have in common and go from there. So folks, we'll spend just a couple more minutes working on this. If you haven't heard it already from my mouth, I will say good morning and welcome to you. Welcome to class after a bit of a hiatus. And let me just do attendance here. Noah. All right. Any questions about this here? Do you have any questions for your fellow classmates about what they've been doing during the hiatus?
I know that Rachel is being antisocial.
How do you know that?
Because she's on her phone at youth group all the time.
Jonah, don't say anything.
I see. So, Jonah.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for, like, if we need to detect when Rachel is being antisocial on her phone?
It's really easy to tell, actually. She'll do this weird, like, she'll be looking down, and then she'll look up, and you can tell when she's typing stuff on her computer because she like shakes it around a lot. So you'll watch her camera like go all over the place.
Okay.
So
Okay, well,
Yeah,
I'll try to watch out for that. But yeah, thank you for the tip. Yeah, I'll try to watch out for that, Rachel. No, just I mean, like, yeah, we'll we'll keep going. We'll get started here. I hope that you guys did have a nice week where you didn't have live stream classes. Got some things done, but had a great time relaxing, whether that's being social or antisocial. All right, so like I said, today it is a big lesson. It's a big idea. It's this thing where we are going from factoring simpler things like what we've been doing, like this, like what we described before, factoring this, which we know how to do. You know, this is the one we did already. We can factor it to this, right? Going from that to doing some more complex ones. So with this one here, if we look at the final thing, the thing that we worked really hard at finding, we have a monomial here, a monomial and a binomial. But sometimes there are things like this. Sometimes, of course, we have a binomial multiplied by a binomial. Sometimes we've got x minus 5 times, let's say, x plus 7, right? And if we wanted to expand this, that's the same thing as multiplying. What tips can you give me? What's this buzzword? We got this word that's like, man, it's such a buzzword. It helps us remember how to do this kind of math work.
FOIL.
FOIL. Yeah, we are going to FOIL right here. Okay, so we're going x times x gives us x squared. We've got x times 7. Both of them are positive, so that's a plus 7x. We've got a negative 5 times an x. That's a minus 5x. And then negative 5 times a 7 is a negative 35. Lastly, we can combine our two like terms that are the x and the x here. So x squared, just one of them. 7 minus 5 gives us plus 2x and then minus 35. Okay? So today, just like what we saw before, let's say we didn't know what that is. We didn't know what that is, that or that. Could we start with this thing that I'm going to circle in peach color? Could we start with this and work our way backwards to get to that? Of course we can. Not of course. I mean, many of them we can. And that is what we are learning today. How do we do this reverse process? How do we start with this and go to that? There's a bit of a trick to it. And we're going to learn those steps today. So that's our second key idea. Often a trinomial can be factored so that it resembles x minus a times x minus b, or those can be pluses or minuses. Okie dokie. So we got some shapes here. All right. When two binomials are multiplied together, they often make a trinomial. That's what we just witnessed. Okay, that's what happened here. We ended up with a trinomial. So for example, let's say we've got x plus 2 and x plus 3. Those are two binomials that are multiplied together. There's an invisible multiplication symbol in between the brackets there. What do we get if we multiply those together? Well, x times x is x squared. And then we would end up with, okay, we get 2x, and then we get 3x, and those get added together to become 5x, and then 2 times 3 is 6. Right? I didn't show the in-between step. I didn't show the actual foiling. Would you guys like to see that, or should we keep going? I take your silence as a, actually, I don't know how to take your silence. Why don't we just keep going, all right? So we know that we can do that. We must then be able to factor trinomials to reverse a process. In other words, we must be able to start with this trinomial and end up with the factored form. Of course, we know what it is. We know what it's going to be. It's going to be x plus 2 times x plus 3. The only reason we know that is because we see this equation up here, right? We just flip the sides of the equation. But I'm starting to color coordinate things. You see that? What connections between the colored coefficients do you see? In other words, what connection do you see between this 5 and this 6, this 2 and this 3? So that's the question. That's what I want you to think about. Can anyone tell me, do you notice any connections between any of those numbers?
That red and 3 make purple. I mean, 5 and 3 make purple.
5 and 3 make purple, but there's no purple. Oh, I did purple lines. Yeah. Okay, that's a connection between the numbers and the colors. So if we, anyway, okay, yeah, you're right. Evan, and Matthias is agreeing with Evan, says 2 plus 3 equals 5, and 2 times 3 equals 6. Absolutely. Notice that, right? If we look at our, let me erase everything here. If we look at our numbers here on this side, right? We look at our numbers here on this side. We've got 2 and 3, and 2 times 3. 2 times 3 equals 6. 2 plus 3 equals 5. Okay? This is actually a really, really helpful pattern. We're going to learn how this, how more difficult trinomials work, but this is something that helps us with these simpler trinomials when we only have a 1 there in front. So the connection that you folks notice, yeah, 2 times 3 equals 6. 2 plus 3 equals 5. Terrific. All right. And so this is something that we can use if we do not know if these numbers are obscured. Right? I meant to do that. We don't know what these numbers are. No problem. We can figure them out. No problemo. I learned some new words in our hiatus. One of them is problemo. For example, if you use it in a sentence, you might say, no problemo. That means it's all good. All right. So let's try factoring something here. Let's say that we have x squared plus 5x plus 4. Okay. There's these steps that are going to appear down below. It's worth it to just kind of go through these steps. Okay? So we want to find two numbers that multiply to 4 and add to 5. If I am feeling like I really want to do tons of work, I look at this 4. I start with this 4. This is our last number here. This is a great place to start. Start with that 4. And we say, what are two numbers that multiply 4? In other words, what are some factors of 4? What are some ways of factoring 4? Well, we can do 2 times 2. We can do 4 times 1. Okay. Can you guys think of any other ways of factoring 4? There are. You can do -2 times -2. You can do -4 times -1, right? So those are kind of the ways that we can factor 4. Okay, so we've got these different ways of factoring 4. And let's see what the products and the sums of those numbers are. We've got two numbers in each part of our little graph here, right? So let's say 2 times 2, of course, that's a product of 4. All of these they're going to be a product of 4, right? We did our work correctly. All of them have a product of 4. Let's look at what the sums are. If we have 2 plus 2, we get 4. Right? 4 plus 1, we would get 5. -2 plus -2, that's -4. And -4 plus -1 is -5. And so we can see, what our task was to find two numbers that multiply to 4 and add to 5. Well, there are two numbers then. They're going to be these here, right? It's going to be this 4 and this 1. We did some intelligent work here to figure out what those numbers are. All right, let's see. Step 1, factor out any common factors. That's a good step 1. We didn't have to do it in this case, right? That step would mean, hey, do we have any numbers that are common between all 3 of these terms? Nope. Step 2, find 2 numbers that multiply to 4 and add to 5. We did it. That's these ones here. Step 3, these numbers are part of the product of binomials. In other words, to find out what our factored form is, we've done all the work. It's super straightforward, super easy. We've got x plus 4 and x plus 1. Okay. Step 4, check. So let's do a quick check here. You know, we've got our x plus 4 times x plus 1, and we do FOIL to check it, right? So we're going to go x times x is x squared, x times 1 is x, 4 times x is 4x, and 4 times 1 is 4. Notice this interesting things happens here. We have an x, this is like a 1x, plus a 4x. And of course, we're adding 1 plus 4 to figure out what that is, right? We're going x squared plus 1 plus 4x is 5x. And it matches. It matches this one over here. Great. Good. We did it. Terrific. So this is our final answer. Our work under here was just to double check it. Questions? No question. Is this review for you folks? Have you done this work before? Seeing some no's. I hear some yeahs in the chat. Yeah, okay. All right.
For the record, I haven't done this stuff, so I'm just thinking over how to do it, kind of.
Okay. All right. These steps that we have in front of us, step 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm trying to remember if you've got something similar in your textbook. I think not, but let me just double check right now. Yeah, okay, it's a little different. It's a little bit different. You've got a summary on page 88. The steps aren't written out in this way. These are steps that I've come up with before. All right, let's try a couple more. Here we go. Clear everything out. So we have a different trinomial here, but we're picking out the same numbers, right? How did we're picking out 2 numbers again. How did I pick out this -6 and this 1? We want to find 2 numbers that multiply to -6 and add to 1. How did I pick those out?
1 times -6 equals -6, which is in the right there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we always choose this last term. We can also call it the constant term because it doesn't have a variable on it. But we always choose this last term to figure out what is going to multiply to it. Okay, what's going to multiply to that? So that's where we get this -6 from.
And there's a 1 in front of the x.
Right. There's a invisible 1 in front of the x. So if you don't see a number in front of that middle term there, it's going to be a 1. We're going to find 2 numbers that add to that. Okay. So if we want to be thorough, we start with the factors of -6. What are factors of -6? What are 2 ways to multiply -6? Well, of course, we can do, for example, 3 times -2 and -3 times 2. Okay, but we can also do We can also do -6 times 1 and 6 times -1. I've done my work correctly, so I know that the product of each of these is going to be -6, -6, -6, and -6, right? But what do we get if we add these together? Well, 3 plus -2, that's a sum of 1. -3 plus 2, that's a sum of -1. And then this down here, -6 plus 1 would give us -5. 6 plus -1 would give us 5, -5. As you're doing this work on your own, you might do this first step here and you realize, yeah, we nailed it in the first step. We found our two numbers, right? And you don't have to do the rest of it. So you can finish it off right there and you're already done. What I do find sometimes is that students, they don't want to write anything down. They want to write as little as possible. Like it's this weird thing where certain students that I've had, many students I should say, they want their pencil to touch the paper like as little as possible. Like they hate the process of pencil being dragged across paper. I don't know what it is. But
because writing sucks.
What's that?
Writing sucks.
Writing sucks. I was going to write it out, but a little bit of morning irony, but I shouldn't write that down. So please do, in math class, write as much as you need to for each question. Anyway, back on track. We figured out the two numbers. It's it's this here satisfies our conditions, multiplying to -6 and adding to 1. So these are our two numbers here. Easy peasy. We just write it like this. We've got, I often write it like that. And we're going to have x plus 3 and x minus 2. Right? These are the two numbers right here. Two numbers right there. Okay. Step 4 is to check. So I'm going to do my checking work down here. We've got x plus 3 times, that's a beautiful 3, x minus 2. I'm going to do FOIL, so that's x times x is x squared. X times -2 is -2x. 3 times x is 3x. And 3 times -2 is -6. Notice this interesting thing. We've got -2x plus 3, right? So we're adding -2 plus 3. That gives us just x and then -6. And we can see that this matches. Oh, how do I get over there? I'll go through here. Matches this. Perfect. Dunzo. It's another word I learned over my hiatus. Dunzo. If you use it in a sentence, it would be something like this math problem is dunzo. Okay. Any questions? I want to, we're realizing that it's actually there's this straightforward set of instructions, these steps that we can follow that help us do it every time.
Just quickly though, how did you get just the x again? Because I lost.
Sure. You mean down here? How did I get this x in the end? Is that right, Krista? Sorry, I wasn't looking. But did you?
Yes. Sorry, I just wasn't paying attention enough, I guess.
Okay, no problem. So, so remember that when we're doing FOIL, we're doing x times x to get x squared here. And then we do x times -2 to get -2x. And, then the next one, 3 times x is 3x, right? So we've got a -2x plus 3x. And so really what we're doing, we're going -2 plus 3, and it's just, we're talking about x's. So -2 plus 3, of course, that's okay. -2 plus 3, we end up back at 1x. Yeah. Does that help? Great. Alrighty, Rooney. This one at the top, it's obscured right now, but I think try in a group. So I want you to try. This one here in a group. Okay, so I'm going to split you into some groups here, breakout groups. Let's see. Let's have 3 or 4 people in a group. How much do you want to bet that the brothers will be together in a group again? This always happens.
Let's just not be in the same group. How about that?
You don't want to be?
No.
I switched one of you last time. All right, let's see. Oh, you're not in the same group. Okay, so we have 3 groups here, and I'll just ask you folks to work on this question. So you may have to write it down so that you've got it when you get into your breakout groups. You've got your steps here in front of you. If you want to, if you haven't already, you can write those steps down, or you can like take a picture of them or something like that. Maybe you already know what the answer is. We won't spend too much time doing this, but I want you guys to talk about it. I want you as a group to collectively together feel like you all understand it, right? So if you've got, you know how we do fist to fives sometimes, and I say, 5, you really understand it, fist, you don't. I want you, if you're a group of 4, your total score for fist to 5 should be at least 18. Okay, that means like maybe 2 of you say it's a 4 and 1 of you says it, or 2 of you says it. Does that make sense? Or just, okay, anyway, let's get into your groups, okay? So the invitation has been sent. You folks can hit join. All right, folks, welcome back. Thank you for working on that. I worked with one set of students where we saw that instead of having to do a big table like this, right, this one here, you can simplify it pretty nicely. You can simplify it by going like, what I usually do is do a quick table like this, where we're looking for 2 numbers that will multiply. I usually just say multiply to 28 and add to negative 29. And so as you get started, you might do something like, okay, 28, we can do 7 times 4. That multiplies, or that adds to 11, right? This is a real quick way of doing it. And 11 is not negative 29, so we move on, right? We can then try, you might try negative 7 and negative 4. Of course, it's not going to do it either. But then you realize, okay, we can also do 28 times 1 and negative 28 times negative 1. And so that's how we end up finding it. Negative 28 plus negative 1 gives us negative 29. So that's going to do the trick. That means that our nice, quick way of doing this question, we end up with an x here, an x here. We're going to have a negative 28 and a negative 1. After that, you can check to make sure that it works. Right? Were there questions that you wanted to ask about that? All right, we are going to set a timer for 8.22 minutes. Okay, and then after that we will resume. Okay, so 8.22 minutes. There we go. All right, see you soon.
Hi. Hey, Hector. How you doing?
Solid until you play straight
15 out of 15.
Oh yeah.
Brandon and Matthias. The rest of them, Ruben actually had one of the.
That sounded interesting.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about my tea, so now I'm drinking cold tea.
Mine is like burning hot.
Yeah, I'd much rather drink cold tea than burning hot tea.
Out of it all.
Then again, mine's not really cold. Room temperature.
I don't know. We went through the questions.
And you understood them?
I understood them. They made sense. Right, Ruben? They made sense.
Yep.
And even some of the answers that you got wrong were the same as mine.
Ruben,
And
your typing is loud and there's loud talking.
That's very true.
Why did he give us such a long break today?
Well, because he's a nice teacher. You know, I've always thought of Mr. Bohr as a very nice teacher.
Why can't I see anyone? Oh.
What do you think?
What do you
So, Hunter, how's you going?
How is your life going?
Who is all the noise coming from?
It's Evan.
Yeah, I have a very loud keyboard in case. You ready?
Oh, those are so cool.
Wait, hold up. Complains about my typing and talking.
Yeah, no, it was the talking, don't worry.
Would you like a cup of tea? Mango, Evan?
Yeah, tea would be great, thank you.
Evan, there's very loud talking and you're typing.
Very loud, yes.
You know, I think we're all agreeing that tea is probably the best gift known to mankind.
False.
Oh, come here.
Mocha.
Gross.
No. Come on.
Mocha's gross. Coffee.
How?
Coffee is so bitter.
Ice cap.
Ugh.
Ice, yeah. Come on. That's
Well,
okay, I'm so confused. How come you're saying coffee is bitter when I'm talking about a mocha? That's hot chocolate and coffee mixed together.
I know, it's still gross.
It's amazing.
Well, I mean, unless you do like so little coffee that you can't even taste it.
I don't even like.
Oh, thank you. What is this for?
Coffee and mocha.
Hot drinks are just gross.
Oh, come on. No.
I like iced everything.
Well, I mean, that's true. Like, I'll go to Starbucks and get like the coldest drink while it's snowing outside. I don't know why I do that, but
I don't remember the last time I had a hot drink. Like,
Actually,
so long ago. Yeah.
ready? Yesterday at 7.
Not even hot chocolate?
I'm drinking room temperature tea right now. So
I'm drinking burning hot tea right now.
Tea is just gross in general. I like iced tea actually, but
I mean, iced tea's
gross.
fine, but
But I got
real tea.
What kind of tea are you drinking?
I'm drinking vanilla Robust. I think that's it.
Rooibos. Oh my gosh, you're not even a tea drinker.
I'm Mexican. I don't care about that.
How did you say that?
I said
Rooibos. That's what she said.
that's the way my mom told
It's
me.
rooibos. Oh my gosh. No,
Hey,
you
my
don't
mom-
drink tea if that's how you
My
drink.
mom can't pronounce the word shoelaces. She says shoelazers.
She says shoelaces?
My mother says shoelazers.
And then why
Says go tie your shoelazers.
Why is Evan so judgmental? Like,
I'm not judgmental. I'm enjoying something.
every time you talk, you like go in really far, but you don't have to pick up your mic.
I know, it's because I used to have my fat mic here, and normally whenever I said something, I would just like lean into the mic.
Yeah, my mic's like on the bottom of my computer, so hi, can you hear me better?
The mic is this thing.
That literally didn't change the quality of your audio at all.
Bottom of my computer too. I think.
Okay, so how many times have you guys yawned today?
Like twice.
Too many.
I think when Ruben keeps yawning, I'm yawning.
Yeah.
Oh, Matthias just yawned.
Well, I didn't see it, so I won't yawn.
Wait, at the beginning, did anybody hear my mic still on? I like completely forgot.
I don't know.
Just a little bit.
Nope.
It was really, really loud.
It was?
Told me I did that for like half the class without knowing it.
I remember last class, I would keep leaving my mic on, and then I would get told to shut it off.
Nice.
No, he just like automatically shut my mic off because it was on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that if you're the leader, you can just mute anything.
Yeah, probably.
So, yeah.
Who's talking?
I have no clue.
Come on.
Oh, Evan, it's you.
Yeah, it's definitely me. There are people in like, okay, so our house is very open. Our house is very open. Yeah, are you ready? Watch this.
See, I'm sitting in the living room, so everybody's here.
I'm sitting in the kitchen.
I'm in my bedroom. See, look, I made my bed today.
I never make my bed.
I only make it because otherwise you can see my unmade bed in my video. That's literally the only reason I do it.
That's what I call motivation.
My mother would be so proud of me right now.
My
Oh
mom-
yeah, do you guys know what? In December, I'm no longer going to be in my bedroom. I'm going to be in Mexico, video chatting, doing math.
Why?
Why?
Because I can't. No, because my parents are going to go to Mexico for a month. So.
A month?
Mhm.
You only have like Christmas off for a month.
No, I still have to do school, but.
No, I
Yeah,
mean.
but there won't be video chatting.
Yeah.
You get like all of December off.
Class is back on. No more talking.
Yeah, shut up.
I will continue to talk at my own will.
And then turns his mic off right away.
I said at my own will, all right?
RCOA, we have like all the month of like December off, and then like all of spring break off, like all of March, I think.
How long has everybody here like done RCOA?
I have never done RCOA in my life.
First year.
I did it for 5 years, and then I switched to Heritage.
Yeah, I did it for like 5. I did it while I lived on the island first, and then when I moved away, no more RCOA. And then I moved back to the island and joined again.
Hold on. Technically, actually, we never left RCOA.
No,
we were just
that's
we did
untrue.
other programs along with it.
No, we never did RCOA. Like we did Czech, and we did.
No,
Really? Oh well, we
Yeah,
did them in Alberta too, and then we joined Czech
Yeah.
and stuff as missionaries.
So we really actually have been in it. Well, I've been in it for like 12 years. So
I've been in it forever. Just
Yeah. I used to do like this community class that was once a week, and I think there were 4 different grades combined, but there were only 11 kids and 1 boy.
I used to do community classes with RCOA.
Yeah, they were so fun, and they gave you no homework. So
I did
great.
community classes, and I was the tallest person in the whole school. It was really awkward because you kind of like stood there, and they were all kids under 5 foot, and then I was like 5'6". So the teachers, they just kind of chose you, and it was awkward.
Yeah, and it's weird because all my teachers were mothers of friends that I knew from church. So.
All right, folks, we, sorry, I hate to cut the conversation short here. But yeah, we're going to keep going here. Some of you were discussing like when we have our live stream classes off. I've got the calendar up in front of me. Of course, the next bit of a break we get is because of Remembrance Day. And so the week of November 12th, we won't have live stream classes. That means we've got 4 more weeks of live stream classes and then another week off from it. After that, we have another 4 weeks of live stream classes. We'll have live stream classes until like the December 13th. And then it's, 4 weeks off from live stream classes. Like just enough time to forget everything you learned in that class. No, hopefully not. But yeah, we get a chunk of time off. So Krista, you were saying that you're going to be in Mexico for December? Okay. So then, you'll probably be tuning in. I'm glad you will be tuning in for maybe 3 or 4 classes while you're there. Cool. Well, I hope you have an awesome trip. So, and then after that, so you guys were discussing March as well. I mean, we've got 3 weeks off from class in March. And then there's some, I got to confirm the schedule when we get into April and August. Because, April and August, April and May. So I'll confirm that and then we'll figure that out. But yeah, please do be patient, or do be understanding just in case some of the scheduling has to change here or there. But that's kind of it for now. All right. I hope that you're doing well. We'll continue here soon. You folks over the break. It's not really a break. Last week, you were asked to write a quiz or a test, and actually the week before as well. And so at this point, we have most everyone has written the test, which is good. That's what you were meant to do. And I took some time yesterday to just make sure to check the marking and mark everyone's. And so the results of the test, it's a bit of I would say an average for a test around maybe anywhere between 65 and 75. That's a good average, is what I'll say. Maybe that seems kind of low. But yeah, that's a good average. And so this test average is 66. So that's kind of right in that range there. Okay, that test average was 66%. And there were certainly some questions that were more difficult than others. There was a couple questions where I kind of did some spelling. Like there was one question where I asked you to answer to the nearest second, even though your answer was meant to be in meters. And so for that one, I recognized that there could be multiple correct answers because of that. And so I marked that question. I remarked that question with that in mind. And there was one other question that I thought was just kind of, let's see, I don't quite remember which question that was. There was one other question that I think I remarked. Let me just double check here. I'm looking at it on the other screen here. But it could have been the pre-calculus class, I think. Must have been the pre-calculus 11 class, I think. And so if you check your mark for that test and you feel disappointed in it, just keep in mind that we'll be doing more tests, and so you'll have more opportunities to increase your mark. You can also check your overall mark, I believe, as you go. And tests are only one piece of the puzzle, so you can check your overall mark and see what it's at. I do want to be like, if you do have any concerns about the amount of homework that you're working on, the style of homework, or the tests in general or specifically, you can let me know. You can let me know here in class, but but you can also let me know, via Canvas message or email address. Were there any questions or concerns that you wanted to talk about with the test here? Did it feel, well, for everyone it's going to be different. I was going to ask, did it feel difficult? But maybe for everyone it's going to be, it'll feel different. Yeah, any thoughts that you want to share? I'm just going to close the blinds a bit more here.
Holy, that mic coming down was like an explosion.
Sorry, I don't know if anyone said, he's out. Was there something you wanted to share? Or
when your mic hit the desk, it was like an explosion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
With the test though, like I found it like felt easy. Like I felt like I was understanding all my answers and everything. And then when I looked at, my actual grade and how much I failed, I was pretty disappointed. But like I thought I was understanding it, and like when I was doing the homework, it all made sense. So like I saw some of those questions coming up, but I guess maybe I must have misread something or just missed a step or done it improperly. But
right, yeah. And that, okay, and Rachel is saying, yeah, same. And so that can be tough. I understand what you're saying, Jonah, for sure. It's the kind of thing where the very best thing that you can do for stuff like that is just double checking your answers, right? So whether you're double checking as you go or, at the end of your test, you just go back and double check, right? If you feel like you had enough time for that. Yeah. Did you folks feel like you had enough time for the test? Yeah. Okay. Were there any, so there were a few styles of questions, multiple choice. There were some where you just had to type in a number, and then one where you just wrote a little bit there. Any concerns about the different types of questions? Like, was it, do you like the multiple choice the best? Do you like kind of the ones where you just type in a number the best, or what?
I like the multiple choice.
Multiple choice. Okay. Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, multiple choice are nice. I designed these questions, right? So when I'm doing multiple choice ones, hopefully you don't feel like it's tricky, but I do try to think, okay, what are some of the questions that would be close if I just missed a step or something, or if I didn't notice that this is a cubed, and hopefully it's not about noticing, but more like if a student was missing just one step or missing a little piece of it, what is another option that they might choose? So it's not going to be like in multiple choice, like, oh, your correct answer is 5, and all the other options are like a billion, a million, a trillion. Right? So it's not going to be obvious like that. Yeah. Okay. So multiple choices. Darn. I think that we'll certainly keep doing multiple choice, and then we'll still have those some of those inter-number ones, because those are nice because I don't know, because it's really an opportunity for you guys to show like, yep, I've got this, or maybe you can't rely on any outside information for it. Whereas multiple choice, you can get some feedback because there's maybe your answer there. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, folks, this is
oh wait,
and what I thought. Sorry, what?
I had one. I didn't know if you could see me putting up my hand.
Sorry. Yeah.
What happens now if you've like failed the test?
So
or like gotten less than 60 or whatever it is.
Yeah. Okay. So so if you've got concerns about that, let's just double check something here. Like your tests, your test scores are worth overall. Okay. I feel like I said, I thought I would have it here on this page. I'm sorry. That must have been near here. Second class, we talked about it. Tests, 25% of your mark. I might just have to make sure that that is working properly on there. And so it's a fairly small, I guess, but not unsubstantial part of your mark. I do, yeah, Jonah.
So like over time, if you are getting said, well, most people already know I didn't do well on the test, or I wouldn't be asking this. But like if I did better on some of the other tests later, it could make up for that percentage loss.
Yeah.
And then my overall grade could still be fine.
Right, exactly. Okay, and so what I'll say as well is that one thing I've done in the past with campus schools is given students a chance to retest. There's pros and cons with that. I mean, honestly, one con is that I've got to create a new test for that. But another con, I did start finding that students just weren't, they stopped trying on test day. They stopped preparing well for test day because they knew that they had a retest option.
Well, I'm not like a grade grubber or anything like that. I'm just making sure like failing this or something will like fail my overall grade or whatever.
Right. And I you know, just in general, if a student is showing that they're learning things and that they are learning the concepts that we're studying in class, like maybe the tests won't be their strongest thing just because they're perhaps not a strong test writer or something like that. I do like to give students other opportunities to earn marks, to show what they've learned and to earn marks. So, you know, Jonah, if, for example, you or another student, like near the end of the year or near the end of the semester or something like that, it's like, oh, you know, I feel like my mark is lower than I actually know, then you can contact me and see if you like. I really like when students come up with an idea for an extra assignment or something like that. And say like, okay, I'm going to do this thing that shows I know my stuff. And so that's a message for everyone, right? Like, I want to give the message that if you later on down the road feel like you want to do some extra credit stuff, that's an option. Okay. Okay. So folks, what I want to do for just a little bit, here's your homework assignment. So you should write it down or circle those questions in your textbook. And then I want to do just a few questions together. So this is nice because this is actually, hey, we're gonna do some questions for your homework. Okay. So please write it down. I'll give you another 20 seconds or so, and then we'll work on some questions. Raquel said, the multiple choice was the best. She loved the multiple choice. That was the best. I think I just have to go back to get the textbook pages. Sorry. There it is. Okay. So we're on page 90. What's that? So we're starting here with question 3. So I've assigned you each of 3, 4, and then a bit of 5 here, and then going on to 6. So I wanted to make sure that we had a clear understanding of what these questions, these first 2 questions we're asking. So we'll do 3A together. It says, give 4 examples for B so that the following trinomials can be factored. Basically, what we're being asked is, hey, we remember that with all of these questions, numbers that multiply to this and add to this thing, whatever it is, right? Adding to that.
What?
What?
Oh.
Okay. So folks, Jonah, sorry, I muted you. You weren't muted when you said what. All right, so we're looking for 2 numbers that multiply to 6 and add to something. Okay, so we want to figure out what are some options for this thing, for this B value that we could come up with. So let's start by thinking about numbers that multiply to 6, right? Numbers that multiply to 6. Well, it could be 2 times 3, right? Multiply to 6, okay? And they're going to add, if we add those together, we'll have 2 plus 3 is 5. And so if this B was 5 here, if this was 5, this would be a factorable trinomial. So that's one of our options. Right? One of our options is 5. Can you tell me any other things that would multiply to 6?
Negative 2 times negative 3.
Great. Negative 2 times negative 3. Okay. And so if we add those together, we get negative 5, which means that this B value here could be negative 5 as well. Anything else that'll multiply to 6?
1 and 6.
1 and 6. Okay. 1 times 6. If we add those together, we'll get 7. So that's another option. There's one more option.
Negative 1 times negative 6.
Negative 1 times negative 6, which of course will become negative 7, right? So basically what we've done is we've figured out the 4 different options for that B value there. And so that was 5, negative 5, negative 7, and 7. And so if we have this, if we had, for example, x squared plus 7x plus 6, we know that that thing can be factored, right? Not everything can. For example, if this number was 22, let's say, just a random number, this can't be factored. Okay? We could try and try. We would look for 2 numbers that multiply to 6 and add to 22. There are no such numbers. There are no such numbers, and so this one here cannot be factored. Sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent there, but is that clear? Is it clear what you're asked to do for this? Any questions about that one?
For part B, could one of them be 4 because 2 times 2 equals 4?
Yeah. So yeah, if you start working on this one again, maybe you would do something similar. 2 numbers that multiply to 4 and add to, what do they add to? We can figure that out. So 2 times 2 equals 4. That's great. If we add those 2 together, we get 4 as well, which means, yep, an option there would be 4. All right, how about number 4? Number 4 is similar, but instead of trying to find that middle term, we're trying to find that last term. And there's actually going to be many, many, many different options that you could choose for this. Okay, let me illustrate. So for this one, we're kind of saying we're multiplying to question mark. We don't know what it is. And we're adding to 6. So two numbers that add to 6 might be like, for example, 4 plus 2. Well, if we had a 4 and a 2 and we multiply them together, we would get 4 times 2 is 8. So, you know, that could be one of our options, 8. Can you think? Okay, tell me another two numbers that could add to 6.
Three plus 3.
Great, 3 plus 3. So 3 plus 3 is an option. And what if I multiply those two numbers together, Krista?
9.
Yeah. And so 9 is another option. You know, if we wanted to, we could keep going and we could do adding to 6. Well, that could be like 7 plus negative 2. Right? 7 plus negative 2 is another option. No. I'm sorry. Hold on. Maybe something more like 7 plus negative 1, right? That does it. That's what I meant to say. And if we multiply those together, we get minus 7. So minus 7 is another option. So we're starting to see there's a lot of different options. You know, we could even do like 36 plus negative 6, right? So you can see we're going to end up with tons of different options. The last one, let's do something a little more basic. Let's say that we're going to add, let's say 8 plus negative 2, because that will add to 6. If we multiply those two, we'll get negative 16. So that's another option. Questions about that? Okay. 5, I'll let you do on your own. Try to notice that, oh, I'm sorry, okay. There's one more thing I do want to do together with you. All right, my apologies. This is bad because this is out of order. There's one more thing that I want to do with you folks. It was this very last one here. Okay, this very last example, because this illustrates our step 1. We haven't seen this step 1 illustrated yet. Step 1, factor out any common factor. So looking at this one, we see that we have a common factor between our three terms. What is common between 2x squared, 2x, and negative 12? What's common? What's common between here, here, and here? What's a common factor? 2, says me.
2.
Yeah, so that means that we can rewrite this as 2 times x squared plus x minus 6. And now this 2 is just outside the party, just hanging out in the front yard, and we want to factor the stuff in the middle here, or the stuff in the brackets, sorry. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply. This is kind of my short way of doing it. Multiply to negative 6 and add to 1, right? That invisible 1 right there. And so right away, I know that it's going to be 3 times negative 2, because if I add those two together, I get 1. So my next step, I've got 2 here, and then I split up this into 2 parts. We're going to have x and x. We're going to have a plus 3 and a minus 2. All right? And that's your final answer. So you want to start with that factoring if you have the chance. So that gives you a little bit of a hint for question 5. Like maybe that points out what mistake this student made. There's some factoring that the student missed. 6 is not assigned, but let's choose one from 7 to do together. You've got A, C, E, G, right? So why don't we do E. How about that? We'll do E. That looks like a challenging one. We don't have a whole lot of room for the chart, do we? I like to do this chart. Okay, we'll see what we can do. I'll just do it on the side here. Okay, we're looking for two numbers that multiply to something and add to something. Okay, so if we're doing E here, what are the two numbers we're multiplying to, and what are the two numbers we're adding to? We're multiplying to what? What are we multiplying to?
72.
Yeah, multiplying to 72, adding to what?
18.
Well, yeah, negative 18, right? Yeah, negative 18. Okay, good. And so maybe, can you see it in your head? Folks, look at this. We got 72 and negative 18. Can you see it? Do you know what numbers they are? Without even doing it? Maybe you do. But if you don't, no problem. Don't worry about it. Let's start thinking about ways that we can multiply to 72. For example, 8 times 9 does it, right? 8 times 9 gets you to 72. But if we add those two together, we get 17, right? Doesn't do the trick. Yeah, that doesn't do the trick. Okay, and it's not even like the thing where we just have to make the minus. Okay, so that doesn't work. One thing you can do, one thing that is kind of helpful is if we're trying to find these big numbers, look at our 9. Hey, pay attention, right? Look at our 9 here. We can do something here. I'm going to do 9 divided by 3, okay? And that's going to give me a 3, okay? And if I did 9 divided by 3, I can go 8 times 3 to give me 24. 24 times 3 equals 72. Yes, it does. Okay, so I did 9 divided by 3 gave me 3. 8 times 3 gave me 24. But of course, 24 times 3 is 27. It's way off. Let's try something else. Let's do 24 divided by 2 gives me 12. And then we have to go 3 times 2 gives me 6. So 12 times 6 will yield 72. You can double check it with your calculator. And that's 18. Okay, we are getting close. Our next thing is going to go negative 12 times negative 6. And it's negative 18. All right. So that's kind of a handy trick where as you're figuring out your different ways to multiply, you can divide by a number on one factor and multiply that number on the other. So we did it. We did it. Our two numbers are x minus 12 and x minus 6. Questions about that? We'll do one more together and then we will call it a day. Let's do 8A. 8A. 8A, our very first step. Step 1 was to try to factor out a common factor. And there is a common factor here. What do these three terms, 3x squared, 15x, and 12, have in common? What do they have in common?
3.
Awesome. Good. So we can factor out that 3. We write it in front. And then we're going to leave the leftovers. So that'll be x squared. 15 divided by 3 is 5. And 12 divided by 3 is 4. Okay. Good. And now we are looking for two numbers that multiply to 4 and add to 5. And this one reminds me of one we did earlier. So this is going to be 4 times 1. 4 times 1 multiplies 4. If we add them, we get 5. So check mark. That's it. And so what we do is we split that up. We get x plus 4 and x plus 1. Bingo. Bingo.
And so you don't have to do anything after you've gotten to that point?
You don't have to. Step 4 was check. So, you know, on a test, for example, it would be a real good idea to check. And then you could do like, start with FOIL, and then you could distribute in that 3. For you, your checking might just be that you look at the answer in the back of the book and see if you got it. And then if you know, I have asked you, if you didn't get it, that what you should do is by the end of your homework assignment, choose 3 that you didn't get and just redo them, right? All right, we'll call it there, folks. If you do have questions you want to ask, stick around for the next 5 or so minutes. Otherwise, you are dismissed. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you on Wednesday or Thursday. Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See you, folks.
Thanks.
Gracias.
Gracias. You're welcome. Okay, Matthias, I see, is this me and you here? And you've sent me a message. Okay, let me just, if you've emailed it to me, then yeah, perhaps I just forgot that you had emailed it to me. Sorry about that. Let me check right now. Sorry, was it an email or a Canvas message? Sorry, Matthias, I don't know. I didn't hear you there.
It was just a regular email.
Okay. So from free fall. Ah, yes, I see. Free fall graph. Right. Okay. No, that's good. So I got some time. I'll adjust that mark right now. Okay, Matthias,
Okay, thank you.
Look at this. And, yeah. Did I give you any other feedback for that assignment? Was there any?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, then I'll just make that adjustment.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Matthias.
Bye.
Bye.